Good morning, afternoon, evening, and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to yet another meeting for the Kubernetes release team 1.18. I will be your host today. My name is Jorge. Nice to, and before we get started, like always, I have to mention the Kubernetes community has a code of conduct, which essentially boils down to please be nice and kind to each other at all times, under all circumstances. And before we proceed on to the meeting itself, if there is anyone kind enough to be the note taker for this session, it will be much appreciated. And with that, let's start with enhancements. Jeremy, please take it away.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. So yesterday was code freeze, or we've ended up, oh, sorry, I didn't give our status. We're green now. We ended up with 35 tracked items. 12 of those are alpha, 12 of those are beta, and 11 are stable. We have some outstanding issues that have requested exceptions. We can walk through those right now. The first one is the sidecar containers kept. And I think people are aware there was a lot of flurry around that towards the end, beginning of the week as we got closer to code freeze. And there was an exception requested for that, but they have since deferred that to 1.19 based off of some discussion that was happening in the PR. Essentially, like kubelet code is very complex, and this is going to add more complexity. So it just really requires more review. So they wanted to wait for 1.19 for that. The second one is enhancement number 770. And that one is related to CSI volumes drivers. They've asked for an exception for that. They had LGTM and approved by the deadline yesterday, but it needed a rebase. So that happened after the deadline last night. And just got an LGTM today, and they're doing, the tests are running on that right now. That also applies to enhancement 603. They're both going GA, and this is really related to like removing the feature flag. So they're waiting for that PR to go through. 693 had the LGTM and approved by the deadline last night, but the test flakes kept it from merging, and then the retest passed, so it looks good now. 1024, the PR that they needed in the KK repo was not milestoned by the deadline last night, so they've asked for an exception today. And then we have 1559. This doesn't have an enhancement link to it. It is this PR right here, 88813. It opened yesterday, so kind of a last minute thing. There's a bunch of discussion on it. I linked two of the discussion items. One comment saying that they think that it should defer to 1.19 because it came in at the last minute and it's unfair to the exception process. And then the other one is indicating that it's a long poll for some other things and should really be considered, even though it came in at the last minute.
I have feels about that one, Jeremy.
You have feels?
Yeah.
What are your feels?
My feels are, I've worked with the owners of that particular body of work for well over a month, I would say, and almost pinging towards the end on a daily basis. I think personally, my feels are it should be deferred because I did everything I could to get them up to speed well in advance of code freeze, and then code freeze came and we were working till like we went over for this one.
I mean, that happens on a lot of these things. That 770 one up above, this is actually something like 770 and 603 were things that deferred from 117 because they didn't finish the PR in time. And now we're back in the same boat where like it didn't get approved and merged before code freeze because it was kind of a last minute thing. So it's definitely something to consider, I think, when we decide if we're going to grant that exception or not. And then there's two more. 166 is taint-based eviction. They asked for an exception before code freeze because they knew they weren't going to get it. We've already approved that one. And then 1393 we had removed from the milestone, but I'd added back today. everything that was merged for that except for a PR that adds end-to-end tests. And that PR for the end-to-end test was good to go yesterday, but it was blocked by flaky tests merging, so they're running retest on it right now. Any other questions?
I have a request for Mark.
Go for it.
Actually, what you just said about the, I forget the actual name of the PR, but could you actually add it in the notes, Marky, please, just to have the context as we are going through all the exceptions.
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much. And other than that, does anyone have any comments, questions, suggestions for enhancements?
Yeah. Did you say that you had flakes on one of your PRs?
Yeah. Two of them. This one right here, issue or enhancement 693. Let me grab the PR for that. One second. It eventually merged in, so that one seems like it was taken care of. And that PR was 87650. I'll add that to the notes.
Okay, thanks. I will check it later if we can see we have an issue already open for the flake. No?
Sure.
Thanks.
Any other questions for enhancements? Going once, twice. Like always, thank you very much, Jeremy, and everyone and to everyone on your team for all the work that you are all doing. And I guess from now on, we just go ahead and enjoy reviewing all the exceptions. And with that, let's move on to CI signal. Nico.
All right, guys, happy Friday and happy code freeze. So we're still yellow. We have only one job failing in master blocking, and this is under investigation. Thanks, George, that you did this investigation, and the responsible people just respond. There are other 3 jobs that are failing in master reforming. The Windows jobs, the 1909 and 2019, which are failing for the same reason, but now they seem totally broken. So I want to ping some people after the meeting to check if something changed. The build packages steps, it's still failing, but this is not a critical issue. I left the comment there. It's failing because the 1.18 release for CI tools it doesn't exist yet, so it's okay, not failing. In release MISC, we have only eight jobs flaky, and only one that it's reported as a failure, but it's still a flake. It's really hard flake. And in 1.18 blocking and informing jobs, there are actually the same jobs with master blocking and corresponding master reforming jobs, which both of us are under investigation. And the flaky job that I was talking about, the CI key 8 CO backup, it's reported as a failure, but this is a flake because if you check the jobs history, you will see that sometimes it passed, sometimes no. And it seems that the responsible people just are aware of the issue, and hopefully they will fix it. Any questions?
One quick comment. I want to put this on the record, and I want you to call me out in case I'm really misreading the situation. So at least the one thing that I want to mention is a job failing in master blocking, which is skew cluster latest kubectl stable 1 GCE.
Mm-hmm.
So just to go through that one really quickly, and please call me out if anything sounds funky. So as the name entails, this is doing a skew test of kubectl mainly between latest and stable one. If you actually go to the job and a lot of test infra stuff, it appears that it is doing a downgrade. So it starts with latest, which in this case is everything in the master branch, which is tagged with 119.0, and then it downgrades to stable one, which I believe is 117.4. And for everyone that's wondering why I know any of that, is because I spent a lot of time looking at the logs. So hopefully none of this is just black magic that is appearing now. So going through the test, it appears there was a new resource that was added on 1.18 ingress classes, which is to manage ingress resources, and there is an end-to-end job that is executing the in kubectl inside of KK, and that end-to-end job essentially tries to take data from etcd, and there's an entry for group version and resource. The ingress classes was added in 1.18. So if you just run that job in 1.18 with a 1.18 cluster or newer, it should work. But I believe the issue is due to the fact that because we're running a skew job, we are actually running the end-to-end test from 117, not from 118, and 117 the job was not meant to work with the ingress classes, and given that we are running a server, so the actual cluster is still 118 something, and the end-to-end tests are from 117. That's where the issue is happening. So I guess the thing that I want you to double check me, and please tell me if this is a wrong assumption. This is not a strictly release blocking, right? This is it sounds like it is just an issue with the job, and if we fix the job and we possibly do something in the 117 branch, it should work. Does that sound correct?
Yeah. So technically, this PR that I just linked in the doc will fix the problem, right?
Which one is
Because
it?
it's this one, the 88883. Which is like adding
Okay.
temporary resource in the test. But if we temporarily fix that and the test still fails, right? It will be considered as a release blocker, right?
Yeah. Also, to add more context, the reason why I'm asking this right now is, given that we're on what is it, code freeze, want to make sure that just a double check to make sure that we don't have something completely broken in Kubernetes. But yeah, other than that, does everything sound reasonable to you?
Yeah.
Or does anyone have any other comments, questions, suggestions about this discussion? Okay, going once, twice. Thank you, Nico, for everything. And thank you to the whole CI Signal team. Moving on to bug triage. Marky.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Friday all. Bug triage is currently tracking red. For open non-test flakes, we are at 7. That's down 5. For priority critical urgent, we are at 1. That is down 1 from the previous week. Priority important soon is at 2. That is down 2. For open KK, we are at 26, which is down 2. For priority critical urgent, we are at 2, which is down 2. Priority important soon is at 16, which is down 2. And finally, open KK issues is at 23, which is down 6. I do have a few notes. We have a link to a doc that tracks items over milestone travel. We are also waiting to see if the new exception request are going to be approved, and then we will remove the remaining ones into feature milestones on Monday. We will also work with you, George, to ensure that we have approval before removing any milestone items. Finally, I did add a note for exception request 88813. Well, this particular item is not tracked across multiple milestones. It was opened 2 days prior to code freeze. The item that is tracked across multiple across multiple milestones is issue 74379. I will add that into the notes, which is what we originally started tracking, and that has been tracked since milestone 1.15, if memory serves me correct.
Awesome, and thank you so much for adding the 118 milestone travels.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions, comments for bug triage? Going once, twice, sold. Again, Marky and team, thank you so much for everything that you do, and really love the milestone travels thing. We'll take a look at it later and see what we can do. Probably not on this release, but going forward. And with that, is there anyone on the line from Docs? Going once, twice. Okay, so we'll catch up with Docs after this call at some point in the near future. And if there is anything important, I'll communicate with every single one of you in Slack or some other medium. Release notes, Ray. Are you on?
Yes, I am. We are green. We have no change since Monday. So when beta 2 is out next week, then we'll cut the new PRs for the patch and markdown release notes. So still green, no change from Monday.
Okay, sweet. Thank you very much, Ray. And release notes update. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Going once, twice, sold. Communications with Paul.
Howdy. Happy Friday, all. So we are finishing up voting on the SIG items for the blog, and that involves each of the folks on the comms team stack ranking their choices for features that they think are worth highlighting, and then we'll be reaching out to the relevant teams working on those features to collaborate on that blog post that will eventually go out. So we're on the path.
Thank you very much, Paul. Does anyone have any questions, comments for comms? Going once, twice, and sold. Thank you very much. And also for the audience, if anyone is interested in what comms is doing right now, Paul added a couple more notes on how the whole voting on SIG items works. So take a look if you're interested. A quick PSA, and moving on to release branch management. Carlos.
Hello. Yesterday we enabled the code freeze, and now all PRs needs to be labeled and have all the necessary labels and tags as well. Besides that, we are good. I saw you make a comment here in the notes.
Yes, that is something that I wanted to throw out for an open discussion.
Yeah.
At least right now, and then we can follow up to see to get a better feel for things. But a couple things that showed up in Slack yesterday. Yesterday's at some point during the day, the PR that essentially turns on code freeze was merged, and some PRs were removed from the
from the queue.
Yeah, I guess independent of that. So there were two things. So code freeze happened a little bit earlier than most people are used to,
Yeah.
and which is not an issue. And the other one is some PRs were removed from the milestone in the nature of strictly following the deadline of 5 a PR has to be approved as GTM and in the milestone before end of day. And I guess just wanted to throw out for a quick discussion right now, just to get a general feel from you as release branch management and possibly from bug triage. If we follow the comment that Catherine made on Slack, whether we can so essentially, let's say that we did a code freeze the same way in the same dates for the next release. So a Thursday, we have the deadline. We have code freeze on a Thursday, and then actually turn on code freeze the day after that.
Okay.
What would you all think? What would you all think about that?
I think it's a good idea, but also then the next day we might have the same type of message. Oh, okay, the code freeze is enable my PR, get out from the queue as well.
That makes sense.
Or maybe we need to make more restricted like the date and put also when we open the PR to enable code freeze, we say like merge this only end of the day PST, for example, like in the end of the day on the eastern side of US. Because I made like a comment yesterday in the PR, but I was not completely like clear on my message because I put on the end of the day EOD, but I didn't mention which time zone. Maybe it was my fault actually. And I didn't, when I saw the PR was like already approved it and merged it, I thought it was like getting more late in the US time zone. But then I spoke with Stephen. He said, okay, that's not a problem. Can be in any time zone actually, and that is fine as well. But looks like we generate some attrition here.
Actually, on that note, I want to follow the line of the train of thought that code freeze. Since you're doing the PR, it's up to your discretion. You as whoever is in charge, whoever is doing it from the release branch management side, it's up to your discretion whenever you merge it.
Okay.
I really don't think that being strict about a time zone should matter. But what would you think about this process? So we make the deadline for code freeze Thursday, but if we actually turn on code freeze the day afterward, that way we can that way we can actually be strict about PRs or PRs and issues that make it into the milestone. So that way, if something is not ready to just be merged, we can be more confident about just removing it from the milestone without having to do a lot of checking up. And on this last point, this is something that I would love to hear from Bug Triage if anyone has thoughts. Because the other part is we should do something that doesn't just cut off the entire. I think we should do something that doesn't just cut off the entire community. You know, like okay, it's it's 5 o'clock. Sorry, you didn't make it. But the other thing, we should definitely make a hard deadline to allow for 1.18 to soak in CI. And also figure out a process that is not going to make it so troublesome for bug triage and other people to do their thing. So from the bug triage thing, Marky or anyone from the team, do you all have any thoughts, opinions at this point?
Well, what we decided was that it would be 5 p.m. Pacific time. that's following the sun, which if anyone followed that joke yesterday, thank you, Jeremy, appreciate that. So yeah, 5 p.m. But then what we're doing is we're saying 5 p.m., but we're not actually doing anything until the following day.
Okay.
So we're saying 5 p.m., but we're not actually taking any action on any of the open items until the following day. That gives us a chance to sort of deal with exceptions like we dealt with last evening.
So comparing that so comparing what you all do right now with actually turning on code freeze the day afterward, do you think there will be a lot? Do you think it will make any difference?
I'll be very honest with you. My personal opinion is no matter what we do, we will still get complaints. So I say, you say code freeze is at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and then turn on everything the next day. And that gives everybody a chance. But you tell them it's 5 p.m. and then that'll give them sort of a 6 to 8 hour grace period, if you will. But even with that, I can assure you that there will still be complaints.
Yeah, absolutely. But at least on the bug triage and from anyone in the team that is also affected, will it change the dynamic a lot if we actually turn on code freeze the day afterward? You as someone who does bug triage, will that have a huge effect on your life?
It will not have a huge effect. It'll actually make things a little easier, to be honest with you.
Which will make it a little easier. What is the right now or the hypothetical of
the hypothetical of turning on the code freeze officially from a Git perspective, turning that on the next day.
Okay, so that's some useful feedback.
Can I just add something? So I totally agree with everything that Marky has just said. And what is more important to me is that all of this is communicated very clearly to everyone involved, and that is properly documented, and that there are emails reminding people that these rules are in effect. So that we don't have the same situation that we had this time, where there's some uncertainty and we're improvising a little bit and going with the flow. So I just wanted to add this.
Strong +1 to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Awesome. Thank you very much for all your input, everyone. I'll try to surface the conversation in some way to in Slack or a thread in the mailing list, just to double check with everyone and try to get more complaints if anyone has it. But at least it's good to get an idea. At least really useful to get an idea right now of how people feel. But at least from the release branch management. Time zones should not be I really don't think should be an issue, and should be up to your discretion. So the only things that I think really matter is if there is anything that we can make to anything that we should do, any change that we should perform to make the bug triage work easier, smoother, and if we can also help out and give a little bit more breathing room to people, awesome. But at least that is those are my general thoughts. With that, does anyone have any more comments, questions, suggestions? Anyone wants to add? Going once, twice. Okay. So again, thank you very much, Carlos, and everyone in the release branch management team. Sorry for dragging on that one a little bit. Mary to sleep. I don't see a message, and I don't think Lucky's on the line, right? Yeah. So moving on to my part. So my release lead update. A couple more deadlines to keep in mind because that is a whole that is the most fun part about the release team. After you get done with one thing, you have to start planning for the next one, and the next one is the docs deadline. PRs are to be ready for review on next Monday. That is Monday, March 9. And the 1.18 beta 2 is planned to be released on Tuesday, March 10, which is next Tuesday. And please correct me if anyone thinks any of those dates are wrong. Other than that, I'm just going to go on and ahead with my public service announcement that if there is anything whatsoever that you think it's funny, anything that you think is interesting, anything that you learn, anything that you think it might be done better in the future, please feel free to add in the release retrospective so we can discuss, so we can have a larger discussion about your ideas, issues, comments. And with that, I'm gonna stop and ask, does anyone have any final comments, questions, suggestions for anything whatsoever that we have discussed today? If not, then I'll give you all back 25 minutes of your day. And thank you very much for attending.
Bye, guys.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Adios, everybody.
Weekend.